Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
The Daily Compliance News for June 9, 2021, the Spying on Defendants edition. We begin with that story from the Times of India, which is that former executives from Cognizant who are on trial for alleged FCPA violations claim that their former employer, Cognizant, is spying on the defense camp. Cognizant has countered the allegation in a New Jersey court that there's never been any such intrusion. It reports that one of the defendant's lawyers said Cognizant hired private investigators to interview employees of a law firm representing the defendants and gathered information from the defendant's own lead investigator, who they said was acting as a spy in the defense camp. The company has responded saying that at all times during its investigation, and indeed since that time, Cognizant and its counsel have acted professionally and appropriately, and there has never been any intrusion into the defense camp. So the Cognizant case continues to embroil, and as we move forward to the actual trial, I can only say it's going to get more interesting. Next up, from the New York Times, the Colonial Pipeline chief said an oversight allowed hackers to get into its system. The top executives told a Senate committee on Tuesday that an oversight appears to have allowed hackers into its computer system. The company believes the criminal hackers infiltrated Colonial's computers through an old virtual private network, or VPN, that is not intended to be in use. The company is still trying to determine how the attackers gain the credentials to exploit it. The point of this is that cybersecurity has to be vigilant, and you have to, if you have old systems, legacy systems that are not in use, they need to be decommissioned fully. Next up, from the Financial Times, the first of 2 stories from the FT today, France launches an inquiry into the Lebanon central bank chief. France's financial prosecutor has opened an investigation into Raed Salameh, Lebanon central bank governor, the second EU country to examine the official's dealings abroad. The inquiry, which began last month, will examine allegations of conspiracy and money laundering as a part of an organized group. The move comes after 2 anti-corruption groups filed separate complaints with French authorities, asking them to examine whether Salameh had transferred ill-gotten gains out of Lebanon ahead of a banking crisis that began in 2019 and denied millions of citizens access to their funds. So an investigation by France into basically Lebanese alleged corruption. Really no surprise that France would do that, as it has close ties with Lebanon. And once again, our final story comes to us from the Financial Times. It appears Volkswagen is near the end of at least a part of its Dieselgate saga with its former CEO, Martin Winterkorn, as the company is wrapping up a decision to accept a $10 million payment, or 10 million euro payment, from its former boss. Volkswagen's decision to sue Winterkorn came after a comprehensive report on the Dieselgate scandal. The report, commissioned by VW's supervisory board, concluded that negligent breaches of duty had occurred in the company's top ranks. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.